Middlesex kept alive their Friends Life T20 season by putting in their most convincing display, thrashing Kent by 48 runs in Canterbury on a night where the former Kent players Joe Denly and Neil Dexter starred. Dexter could probably hardly believe it when he at last called correctly at the toss, nor would he have trusted his eyes when he witnessed the start given by Denly and in particular Paul Stirling. Only one run came off the opening over, but then the Irishman began blazing away in the second. Azhar Mahmood was brought into the attack to bowl the third over, and Stirling hit his first ball over the cover boundary for the first 6 of the match. But Stirling really went to town in the Pakistanis' next over, which read 6, 4, 4 no balls, 4, 2, 4 and 4 for a total of 30 off the over. It was an awesome display from the returning Stirling, who was included in the lineup along with Owen Morgan and Stephen Finn in a very strong looking Panthers team. Stirling's half-century came off only 21 deliveries. Denly, back at his old stomping ground, made a sedate start in comparison, but as he began to find his feet, so he too had begun to find the rope, and by the end of the 6 overs of power play, this pair had incredibly put on 81 runs. After 10 overs, the total read 103 without loss, and Denly now wanted to take the game away from his old employers, this being his only maximum. How he must have enjoyed finding some form in this competition at last, on the ground where he impressed so many in the shortest form of the game. In only 71 balls, these openers have put on an astonishing 127 for the first wicket, but then Stirling finally didn't middle a shot and hold out to Matt Coles off James Treadwell after making a sensational 63. Denly then eased to his own 50, made off only 38 balls as the runs just kept on coming. This was becoming the kind of performance that the Panthers have promised throughout this summer's competition. And it got even better once Morgan had got his eye in. He launched Adam Ball over deep extra for 1-6, and then followed that up with 2 more in a Coles over, the penultimate one of the innings. It was obviously an excellent pitch on which to play your shots, but Morgan made doing that look a rather simple task. These were the strokes of a high-class performer who was at his very best in making 36 off only 18 balls. He was out in the last over, searching out Sam Billings in the deep, but he left with his side only 2 runs shy of their 200. Denly ensured that they got beyond that, as Mahmood had a day at the office to forget. With these 4s coming in the last over, Azhar went for 61 in his 4 overs, allowing Denly to make an undefeated 90 from 66 deliveries, as the Panthers ended their 20 overs on 207 for 2, only 6 runs short of their best ever T20 total. Thanks to a couple of mean overs from Finn at the top, Kent was soon left with much too much to do. Finn's first 12 balls conceded only 8 runs, and so Sam's Northeast and Billings had to find their boundaries from elsewhere. They had little option but to throw the bat at almost everything, and for a while they just began to threaten the Panthers' imposing score. By the end of the power play overs, the run rate required was already up at 11.5 per over. They now needed something quite remarkable. Ollie Rayner's second over of the match was hit for 18 runs, with Northeast striking the first 6 of the Kent reply in the 8th over. And another 15 runs came off the 9th, bowled by Tom Smith, as Billings too began to find his range. By the halfway stage, the Spitfires had made 88 without loss, and they now required 120 from the last 10 overs. Importantly, Billings then went as he drove Gareth Berg to Dexter in the covers to depart for 43, and with that, the match changed dramatically. The dangerous Darren Stevens was plucked out of the air by Dexter off his own bowling after scoring just a single, and after Northeast and Mahmood had taken the total to 120, incredibly 4 wickets fell in 4 successive deliveries. Northeast on a T20 best of 60 skied Dexter to Morgan at long on, and next ball Azhar did exactly the same to end a rather disappointing night for him, and to put the Middlesex skipper on a hat-trick going into his next over. So the 14th over had ended with back-to-back wickets, and the 15th began with 2 more. Coles skewed his shot off Stirling to Smith, and then Alex Blake was run out before he'd faced a single ball, thanks to a powerful and very accurate throw from Denly and the hands of steel as Stirling. On 121 for 6, now midway through the 15th over, the match was over as a contest. Geraint Jones ensured that Dexter didn't get the hat-trick, and he tried to finish the game off in style, but he holed out to the super cool Stirling as Kent fell well short of their target, ending miles away in fact on 159 for 7, Dexter claiming 3 for 22 from his fantastic 4 overs. The 48-run win took the Panthers off the foot of the South Group table. They now need to take their form from this game into Wednesday's match against Hampshire in Richmond. A win there in a tight group will keep Middlesex nicely in the mix for a last 8 place.